That is, of course, after the taxman steps in and takes it before you even see it. That same $200,000 salary in Dubai, well, none of it's taxed. You keep every single last dollar of it. Now, that is before we even discuss the idea of property taxes, capital gains taxes, and every other tax in between. We've both moved here for fairly different reasons. However, today we're going to unpack everything else in between as to why we moved here, what we wish we knew before we moved here, things that have gone wrong and haven't been so pretty, and obviously all the pretty parts, and all the other questions that we receive from our fellow Aussie clients, friends, family, and so forth. And on top of that, we'll be answering all the questions for the certain people who are in the similar position to us, looking to make the move to Dubai or even invest here in Dubai.
What do you think Dubai looks like? The same square feet.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, if you're sitting in traffic in Sydney right now, thinking, is there a better version of this? Well, stay tuned because we're going to unpack all of that as well. I can tell you right now, there is definitely a better version of it, and both myself and Amir are living it. Now, one quick thing before we get into it. This is episode 1 of the Dubai Move podcast. I'm starting a new podcast for the very one specific person. Every episode, we'll be bringing on somebody new or a repeated guest. Somebody who's lived the experience themselves, whether they've done the move or invested here themselves. Somebody who can tell a real story. No fluff, no BS, no exaggeration, or even no sponsored posts. Just the conversations that we wish that we had before making the big move. Now, let's get into it. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, Amir, on where exactly and what point it was that made you realize Australia was no longer home.
I think for me, it was an accumulation over time, a couple of things. And then it eventually got to a point where it was the straw that broke the camel's back. So first of all, just in terms of my personality, I always used to travel quite a bit. Thankfully, I've been lucky enough to travel the world quite a bit. And
as an Australian, that's tough to do.
It is tough to do, 13-hour plus flights. But every time I would go somewhere, I would kind of sit down at a cafe and be like, it would be cool to live somewhere like this for a while and experience the culture here, the people here, the food here, instead of just being a tourist. Instead of just like living and dying in Australia, you know, just in the one place.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, as time went on, I ran a couple of businesses back home, and it was getting tougher and tougher to get businesses to grow and keep them going, simply because of red tape, because of tax laws, other laws, you know, need to get some sort of approval for this, approval for that. It takes time.
The process is there's a lot to go through.
Mate, it's just so many hoops you have to jump through as a business owner, you know. So there was that, and then so that added to my issues, you know, like to the difficulty. It just feels like you're just pushing rocks uphill, you know, just not working out. And I think the camel that really the straw that broke the camel's back for me was how inefficient and incompetent the government was in handling the COVID situation.
Big eye opener.
There was just no clear communication with the people. There was no clear plan. They were just kind of making up as they go. I understand it's not easy. I get it. It's not easy as a leader, as somebody in government or whatever, to handle a situation like that. But I mean, excuses to a point. You know, there are other countries in the world as well, and a lot of them handled it much better. You know, here, for example, Dubai was one of the first places to open up. And
6 months, I believe it was, less than 6 months.
Within 2 months, they started relaxing laws, and I think, I don't know, within 10 or 14 months after that, they were open.
Completely, But they handled that exceptionally well. Obviously, both of us weren't actually in Dubai when COVID hit, obviously. But I've looked a lot into it and read a lot about it. They locked the entire country, not just city, the entire country in a complete lockdown for, I believe, anywhere between 1 to 2 months.
Yes.
That
They made an immediate decision.
Yeah,
you know?
immediate decision, right? They didn't fluff about it. They didn't think about it. They didn't, oh, well, let's just see how it pans out. Let's try and just do X, Y, and Z like what other countries did. Complete lockdown from the very get-go for a period of 2 months. The virus itself lasts anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. So 2 months allows for the virus to completely go. No one else is infected. That's it. It's done.
Yeah, that's we'll get into that, I'm sure, during this entire conversation today about their decisiveness and the way that the government here works and why it's probably a more efficient way of doing things.
Most certainly.
So after COVID, when I saw that they played with our lives for effectively 2 years, they erased it. It really annoyed me, and a lot of people, it didn't annoy them, and that's fine. That's up to them. But I get a little bit riled up about it, to be honest. To have somebody have that kind of control over the years of my life that I'll never get back. If they were competent, no problem. I'm happy to sort of go with the direction of the leadership, and then the absolute final thing that came with that was like one day I was just sitting at home, because anybody listening to this from Australia, especially like our age and older, remembers the Sydney of the 2000s and before.
That's prime Sydney.
It was
that
like one of the
prime
best
Sydney,
places
prime
in the world.
Australia.
Everything,
It really was. It really was.
One of the best nightlives in the world. There was things to do on a pretty consistent basis, across. And I was just sitting down and I was just realizing, tomorrow is going to be exactly like today. The day after is going to be exactly like today. And I'm just doing the same thing. I could plan it out like hour by hour. And I thought this is not a way to live, because there was just nothing to do. It was like 6 p.m. or whatever. Couldn't go anywhere. Things were either closed or closing. It's the inconvenience of even going out.
Lifestyle, man. Lifestyle. Awful there. Honestly, it used to be
really
arguably one of the best places on earth to live.
Absolutely.
For convenience, for nightlife, for lifestyle, for almost anything and everything. If whatever style of person you are, you could have lived in Australia, almost anywhere in Australia, realistically, Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, right? Brisbane, Gold Coast. They're probably the places you'd want to kind of stick to in terms of having an incredible lifestyle. You got the beaches, you got the cafes, the restaurants, the nightlife, you name it, it was all there for anybody. But arguably the best beaches in the world. COVID hits, every single restaurant shits itself, the entire nightlife shits itself, and you're no longer allowed to go out to any club and get in. I believe it was after 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m., lockout laws. All clubs were closing anywhere between 2 to 3 a.m. That's nightlife, right? We'll rule nightlife out, but going out for dinner with the family, if you wanted to go out into the city, your average person on a Friday finishes work between 5 and 6 p.m. The average Australian who doesn't live in the eastern suburbs or the inner city lives about 45 to 50 minutes away, driving distance, to the city. You get home from a long day of work at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Let's say you shower, you unwind, you get dressed, you go to leave the house. Let's say you leave the house 7:30, 8 o'clock. Most restaurants in Sydney have their kitchens closing at 9 p.m. Like how? It's man, you can't live life like that, man. It is such an awful way to live. It's so depressing and boring.
It absolutely is. And the thing is, people listening to this, like in Australia, Australians listening to this, they might listen and say, "Oh, boo-hoo, you can't get a meal at a restaurant, whatever." But life is more than that. But that's just one example. And if you put these things next to each other, you start to see that your quality of life in general is diminishing.
Massively.
Like you're living no longer a real life. You are basically a cog in this machine to just go and create revenue for the government. Come back home, you can't really do anything. There's nothing for you to do. You go to sleep and you do it again the next day.
You're living a simulation.
Yeah, ultimately. It's just like on repeat, And so where is your life? Like when it's all said and done after whatever number of decades working and you're about to retire, what did you enjoy? Is it only the fact that you had to ask for your boss for 30 days per year for him to give you permission to go to Europe? Like that's it. That's the meaning of life for you. So these kinds of things really add up. And again, we'll probably go into these
will,
today.
we will. We will
about the
definitely
little
go into
things
more
about,
detail.
about lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, but even so, right? You get 30 days where you're allowed to, if you get approved to go away or to take some time off work, right? But then you take the extra step. You're working half the year for free. You're getting taxed at 47 cents to the dollar if you're at that top end bracket. The average Australian probably getting taxed anywhere around the 45% mark.
Yep.
You're working 5.5 months of the year for absolute free. You actually don't start getting paid yourself or get to keep your own money until halfway through, through May.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 15th of May, in a couple, 2 days time, 3 days time from today, the average Australian can start earning their own money.
It's nuts, man. And the other thing is, like, I've got no problem paying tax.
Yeah.
I've got no problem paying tax. First of all, the tax has to be fair, okay? Not 45%.
No,
you know?
that's not fair. That's not fair.
Secondly, if something is being done with the tax dollars, like something, my quality of life is improving, where I'm living is safe, people are not hacking each other's heads off with machetes.
Yeah.
Like, the transport system is good. The healthcare system is good. I don't have to wait 7 hours in an emergency room in a hospital. And halfway through, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going home. I'll just rather die there or I'll take care of myself, you know? These kinds of things. Tax is all fine. Tax is important. I get the idea of tax. And by the way, I don't know about you. I didn't come here because of tax reasons. Like, I didn't decide to move to the UAE because I realized and somebody told me it's no tax. I moved for different reasons. Then when I got here, I also realized, it's also no tax. Great bonus. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a bonus, right? Well, that takes me to the next question, right? What was it exactly that attracted you to Dubai in the first place? Obviously, you mentioned that you travel a lot. You mentioned that you were quite fortunate enough to have that flexibility and freedom. You were your own boss, so you didn't have to ask your boss if you were allowed to leave the country. Why Dubai? What made you choose Dubai in the end?
I was looking for somewhere that would have a good lifestyle and quality of life, somewhere that you can see yourself living in, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I love visiting certain countries, but I don't think I could live there.
Correct.
Like, I don't think I could live in the Philippines, but I love the Philippines.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, right? Or whatever other country. So it was for me a toss up between other similar sort of metropolitan areas, metropolitan cities like Singapore, London. So I considered Singapore. I thought about it. I don't know if I could live there. I considered London. That weather's not for me.
No,
although the location's great, and I was on the way to Europe actually, and we had a stopover in Dubai because I'd always wanted to see it. And I don't know how to explain it. The second I stepped into the Burj Khalifa area, the fountain area,
location,
the first second I laid eyes on that area, something inside me said, I have to come here. It felt like this is going to be the new New York. Like, this is how New York City would have felt like probably to people when they were seeing it being constructed.
Correct.
You know? I thought this is it. This is the next place. Just a vibe, just a feeling. No particular logic to it. I mean, not that I ended up being incorrect. Then later I looked at the plans and what's going on. And I think the decision was the right one. But that's basically how I arrived at the decision.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting you say that. I had that exact same feeling. And I think a lot of people listening to this, well, if they live in Dubai and have been to Dubai and are thinking of making the move, have probably experienced that exact same feeling. That's the exact same feeling I had. The moment I stepped out of the airport and got into the taxi, I was instantly blown away. Not that the taxi was anything incredible or fancy, right? It was a Hala Kareem taxi. However, the fact that the taxi had inbuilt Wi-Fi and I just stepped into a foreign country with no 3G, I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. And then you're walking in the streets of downtown. We were staying in downtown when I first came here on a holiday before I made the move. In the streets in downtown, there's Wi-Fi in the street. And that everything was just like, that is insane. I stepped into the hotel. I wasn't really staying at anywhere too fancy. I was staying at the Pullman. I believe it's a 4-star, could be a 5-star, I'm not sure, but the service was insane. Never experienced service like that. So all these little things were just, I was like, wow, so amazed, so intrigued, so like, wow. And then everywhere you look, obviously being in the industry myself, in the real estate game back in Sydney, I was looking, and you're drawn to property. You're drawn to construction. And I'm looking, there's like construction everywhere. And I'm like right in the heart of the city, and there's vacant plots of land, which you don't see anywhere in Sydney. Where have you ever seen a vacant plot of land in Sydney CBD?
Nothing.
It doesn't exist, right? And I'm thinking, fuck, there's so much opportunity here. And instantly I was just like, yeah, this is, I received that feeling. I got that feeling. I was like, I need to be here. This is a part of the world that I feel I can really, really dig deep and extract my full potential out of. Insane, man. Insane that this place, what it can do for you mentally, financially, physically. Man, it's in every single part, it's bettered my life.
Absolutely, man.
Perfect. And when you made the move, we're going to get off this topic very, very shortly. But when you made the move, was it a decision that you just made very, very quickly? Was it a decision that you had to run by anyone? Did you speak to many people about it? Talk us through your decision making.
No, it was literally like that. Like as soon as I got that feeling, I was like, I have to come here. As soon as I go back home from this holiday, from this trip, I'm applying for visa, and I'm like, selling everything and moving. So I did that. I went back and I got to it straight away. And thankfully, all the processes here, everything gets done really quickly.
Very quick.
So within a few months, I had already sorted my visa out. I sold everything, and I had told everybody that I'm leaving, and I came.
There you go. I like it. Yeah. Very, very quick decision. And that's how the best decisions are made in life. And it's just spontaneous, on the spot. Boom, make it happen. Perfect. Well, let's move on, right? Let's talk about the numbers that Australia doesn't really want their people to know.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to talk about taxes here. We did touch on taxes a little bit just previously, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into taxes. I want to talk about the great Australian dream, right? You were mentioning something about you literally, in Australia, you work to live, right? That is, every single person in Australia works all week to be able to live, right? So it's impacted a lot of people in terms of their lifestyle, their ability to actually live and enjoy life. Funnily enough, I have a stat written down here that Australia is in the top 5 wealthiest countries in the world, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. But let's talk about the taxes in Australia. Your average tax rate, we'd say, look, a maximum 47, 48%, but 45% is the tax bracket that the majority of people are in. For what we get for paying that amount of tax, what are your thoughts?
Look, first I want to preface everything by saying, especially for the listeners, because a lot of people listening don't know me, don't know my background, like maybe they haven't interacted with my content and stuff like that. I don't hate Australia. Neither of us do.
No. Not at all.
We think it's a fantastic country. We think the leadership lately has been the wrong one.
Most certainly.
So
quickly, before you continue, how long do you feel like this leadership in Australia has fallen short? Probably a better way to put it, a nicer way to put it.
They've fallen short in so many ways. Like that.
For how long though? When did you notice a big change in Australia?
I think after John Howard, it started to change.
Yeah,
it started to go down. Like that was probably the better days, the better years. You know, at least as far as like financially speaking. I think every time Labor comes in, it gets mismanaged. Even though they have good ideas. In theory, right? Like it doesn't really work out on paper because they just, for whatever reason, either bad planning or just bad ideas, like practical ideas, bad execution or what have you. So with the tax, like even if we're going to be charitable and say most people listening to this fall within the 130K to 190K income tax bracket, even they are at about 39%, 37% income tax, 2% Medicare levy.
Correct.
The question you have to ask yourself is, what are you actually getting for that money?
Correct.
Like doctors used to be almost completely fully across the board. Anywhere you went in Sydney, bulk billing. Medicare used to cover $0 out of pocket, Every time I go back to Australia now for a visit, more and more doctors do not offer bulk billing. You still have to pay out of pocket, 50, 60, 70 bucks.
Correct.
So what's going on? Like emergency rooms in hospitals, why should I go there? Like I've been a couple of times, especially having like a young son. When he was a toddler, when he was a baby, you have to go. Like you get panicked if something goes wrong. There's been times where we've had to wait in the emergency room for 5-6 hours. We don't know what's going on. Potholes in the road, just simple as that. Like potholes in the road. I have people coming from Eastern Europe, my friends. And they make fun of us. Like, what's going on with your roads? They're coming from like war-torn Eastern Europe countries. They're like, our roads are better than yours. Where is the money going? And the answer is too much government spending. That's where it's going.
Yeah, they're putting all the money in the wrong places. All the money in the wrong places. I like the fact that you mentioned that. So let's talk about healthcare Australia versus Dubai, right? And the only reason I'm bringing this up is I have a client who has recently moved here based off an experience that they had in Australia and have actually compared an experience that they've had here in Dubai with healthcare. So there's an argument that healthcare is obviously free in Australia, which it's not free anymore. Now, obviously, you need to pay every time you want to see a doctor, any service that you want to get, blood test, whatever it is, you need to pay for that on the spot. Medicare will reimburse you some of the amount. That's not free though. Of course, in Dubai, you'd have to pay for your own healthcare. Look for really, really good coverage. It's going to probably set you back anywhere between around $1,500 to $1,800 Australian per year. That is top of the line. Obviously, you can always get more, but that is good coverage.
Good coverage,
right?
Solid coverage. Yep.
I have a client of mine who was pregnant. She had some pain within the area where the baby was. She waited at emergency hospital in Sydney. I won't name the exact hospital. She was waiting for over 7 hours to be seen. She had a family member who lives here, had visited the emergency hospital here in Dubai, and was seen within 15 minutes. Right? She wasn't covered by any insurer. She didn't have any top of the line coverage, nothing whatsoever. So the fact that we have, yes, free healthcare. It's labeled free healthcare in Australia, where you can go to you can even have private health insurance and you still won't be seen instantly. In Dubai, you're not even a citizen here. You just have, you're a resident, or you could even be here on holidays. Yeah. You still get seen within a 10 to 15 minute window at worst case scenario. This is a real story and a story as to why one of my clients moved to Dubai from Australia because of that extra little bit of healthcare incentive, you could say. Yes, you got to pay for it, but you get what you pay for.
Yep.
If you can be in a country where you pay zero in tax, you're earning more, you keep more, of course you're going to be happy to allocate funds towards your own health, right? So for me personally, right, if I could keep an extra 45, 47% or 49%, 45% of my own money and my earnings, I'm more than happy to allocate $1,500 a year towards my private health.
100% on the money. So I'll say something because this is a really good point. So I think it's important to preface this to the people in the sense that not only this podcast, but even this country has a certain target market, right? So somebody listening to this who makes $90K per year and lives a certain lifestyle that they're happy with in Sydney, mad respect. Like Dubai is probably not going to be the place for that person. But if we're talking about somebody who makes $200K per year, a family that has a combined household income of $300-400K per year, they are paying their Medicare levy back in Australia, plus their income tax, but they're not relying on public healthcare. They're getting their private health insurance anyway, right? Correct. So you might as well save the tax, save the Medicare levy, come here and get your private healthcare anyway. Because those same people also, they don't tend to not take their children to public schools. They go to private schools, but yet they still pay taxes that go towards public schools. Funding, right? Correct. So you might as well also save that money and that tax and come to a place like this where you can pay that public school fee, the private school fee anyway, and you save on that money. So with the story, like I've had a look at the health insurances here, as everybody here would have, and so have you. Of
course.
The top of the range, top like VIP service, like they will probably pick you up in a limousine and drop you back off, is like $8,000 Australia per year.
Yeah.
Okay. On a 2% Medicare levy for somebody who makes 190K per year, you can do the math of how much that is per year. That's 4K.
Yeah.
Right. And you only get access to whatever the public healthcare is. And then on top of that, my own personal experiences, I've been to the hospital and emergency services needed here a couple of times since moving to Dubai.
Yep.
Every single time I've been, since the moment I walked in through the sliding doors to when I walked out, took 60 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Every single time.
There you go. There, and that's the difference, right? If you value time, if you value your health, it's a no-brainer, right? It doesn't mean in no world does it make sense to walk into an emergency hospital or to walk into any hospital and want to be there for anywhere near the 10-hour mark. It takes you 6-7 hours to be seen.
Yeah.
And then you put in a room after all that time and told, yeah, just wait here. We'll be with you in a moment.
Yeah,
And then
they disappear.
Literally. And then they'll come get someone to come speak to you, who's some junior or someone on work placement, ask you a few questions. Okay, perfect. Thank you. We'll come back.
Yeah.
And then it's just, we'll come back. It drags out.
Yes.
Massively.
And like no fault of the workers there, right?
No.
They might be understaffed, like supplied, underfunded or whatever. But
Everything.
that's just how it is
Probably
at the end of
all
the
of
day,
the above.
right? Yeah.
Probably all of
So
the
it's
above.
not fault of their own. They're doing hard work. They're doing their best. But this is the system ultimately, you know.
100%. 100%.
So, yeah.
Well, that's obviously healthcare out the way. Let's talk about personal income tax in Dubai, right? So obviously they're being at 0% personal income tax. That also applies to all types of other taxes in relation to property as well. So in Australia, obviously CGT, capital gains tax, does apply. And it's effectively anywhere approximately around the 23.5% mark. You do get a 50% exemption on the actual gain itself, and then it's approximately 23.5% of that after. So if you're comparing living in Australia or living in Dubai and you ultimately comparing two exact same lives, right? One person is earning 200,000 Australian in Australia, the other person is earning 200,000 in Dubai. Exact same life, they purchase the exact same property, put $1 million into the property appreciates in $500,000 worth of value. If you look at figures and you break down everything when it comes down to it, man, there is literally one clear winner. There is always one clear winner, right? You sell the property in Australia. Effectively, you are left, you're probably paying, what is it, about $150,000 to $180,000 in tax on a $500,000 profit, maybe a little bit more, to be fair. I'm probably being a little bit generous there. In Dubai, there's zero. So you keep your $200,000 salary per year with 0% income tax. Yes, you have to pay $1,800 a year for your private health insurance. Oh, so be it, right? I don't think anybody would complain at that point. In comparison to obviously the Australian person earning 200 grand, paying 43% tax at that level, probably a little bit more, 45. You could do the math on that. There is just so much more benefit to being here. Now, Australia, incredible country. It's a beautiful place to be. Is it the place to live in 2026? I don't believe so. For any person who is mentally switched on, for any person who is business driven, for any person who likes an incredible lifestyle, who is quite a social person, who likes to travel, why would you live on the opposite end of the world to do that? Honestly, it doesn't make sense to travel as an Australian unless you're traveling for any more than 2 to 3 weeks. At the minimum, it takes you 15 hours to get to Dubai.
Yeah.
Right, just to get here. Yeah. Not talking to get to London,
places, yeah.
right? If you want to get to London, you want to get to Greece, 23, 25, 26 hours. That is an entire day of your life you've lost traveling, not even getting there. So to be able to live in this part of the region, like, man, I'd only traveled to 3 countries before I moved to Dubai. At this point, I've traveled close to 30 countries in 3 years. Very, very fortunate and very blessed to be in a position to have done so. But man, I've gone to places for a weekend. I went to For example, I went to Oman. I done a day trip to Oman.
Yeah.
Gone there, came back same day. Saudi went there for about 35 hours. I went to Egypt for 23 hours. I went to Turkey for an entire weekend. Got there Friday, came back Sunday.
It's amazing.
Man, like to be able to do that is incredible. It's insane.
Absolutely.
Went to Lebanon for 4 days, 5 days. Man, you can do these little trips.
You were just in the UK for the
literally
football.
FA Cup semi-final.
There you go.
Was an impromptu decision. My little brother was moving back to Australia, and I was like, you know what? His birthday just passed. I'll get him some tickets for the game. We got some incredible seats. I gifted that to him as a gift, and went to the UK for 4 days. Man, like it take you half that time to get there in the first place from Australia. Yet again, we're not talking bad about Australia, but if you are really listening to this and are weighing up your options on whether or not this could be the right move for you, I don't see a world in how the numbers don't make sense or stack mathematically for you to actually do that. You mentioned school fees before. Look, the average school fees in Australia for a genuine private school start anywhere around the $20,000 mark per year for kindergarten, right? Kindergarten year 1, year 2. And then they continue to increase. Obviously, depending on where these schools are situated, but on average, anywhere from, call it year 10, year 9, year 10 onwards, you're paying north of $40,000, $50,000 per year. The average school fees here you'd pay is anywhere between realistically 60 to 70,000 dirhams per year, which equates into about $20,000 to $28,000 Australian per year. These are top of the line schools.
Yeah, these are good schools.
These are world-class schools. Like they genuinely recruit professors. They recruit the best of the best teachers.
The facilities, man. It's crazy.
Facilities insane. So they recruit from around the world to bring these people to Dubai to teach. And the options you have are endless. There's British schools, there's American schools, there's European schools, there's Australian schools. There's even an Australian school here that teaches the Australian curriculum. So every teacher at that school is an Australian teacher who had to have taught in Australia for some point. So you have every reason to be here if you are an Australian and you want your kids to read to get taught the Australian way and the Australian curriculum by Australian speaking teachers. Not that Australia is a language, but you want them to keep the Australian accent. That's the school to send them to. So there's no harm in that. But now I did mention to you earlier, Amir, that there was a fun fact, right? That Australia is ranked in the top 5 in the world, ultimately for the wealthiest people in the world, right? To have or one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Now, did you know Australia is not just one of the highest tax countries, but one of the countries that has the most taxes in the world? Over 120 different taxes Australia has, right? Now to be in the top 5 richest countries in the world, or with the most amount of rich people in the world in top 5, 3.6% of Australians are classified wealthy, right? And now in Australia, to be classified as wealthy, you need to have a net worth of $1 million. Now that net worth isn't money in liquid. It is an investment that you may own that is worth $1 million or more. That is how a person's classified as wealthy. So let's take a wealthy person. Let's take one of these people from the 3.6% of the entire population in Australia, which is approximately 27 million, right? Now, in order for that person to be wealthy, they must own a property, $1 million. Let's go to the next step. Now they own a property. Their next dollar after that is now taxed at a 47% margin. Right? This is why so many Australians don't actually feel wealthy. Or even if you are in this 3.6%, I know I was in that 3.6% back home in Australia, and I felt poor. Genuinely, I felt broke. The more I earned, the more expenses I had. So let's run through it again. You own a $1 million property. Your next dollar from that is now taxed at 47%, right? And then the rest of your money has to now be taken away by the cost of living. Man, the cost of living is absolutely through the roof, and it's almost unaffordable. I was speaking to a client just before. He's 22 years old, another one, who coincidentally enough, reached out to me from the video I posted about my other 22-year-old client. Very, very similar situation, right? So he is 22. He spoke to a mortgage broker. They advised him to purchase a property with a 5% down payment. Now, that is arguably the biggest scam in Australian history. Purchase a property on a 5% down payment. Now, a lot of people don't actually know why that this is such a bad option. Reason for this being such a bad option is you are purchasing a property, let's say it's valued at $1 million, just to make math's sake easy, right? You are putting down 5% of the overall value, right? $50,000. $50,000 as a down payment on a $1 million property, you are mortgaging $950K, right? Now, I'm no mathematician, right? But without any interest, I'm going to work this out for you. 950. Oh, that by 12. Without any interest, all right? Interest repayments in Australia right now are through the roof.
On $1 million, you're looking at least 6.5.
6.5. Look, let's make it even lower. Let's just say it was 5%, right? But this is without any interest. Your monthly repayments on a $950,000 mortgage or loan is $2,638 per month. Okay, your average rent for a property of that value is probably going to net you $500 a week net, right? That's obviously taken out expenses, etc. That's you're still out. You're still short $638 that you have to invest from your own pocket towards paying off the mortgage and the monthly repayments. Now, with the interest, if you would add the 5% interest, that number would be a fair bit closer to that $3,000 mark per month, right? The numbers don't make sense. Very, very silly. If you were a 22-year-old person and for some reason wanted to purchase a property on this schedule, your average 22-year-old doesn't earn any more than $1,000 a week. So how are you putting 70% of your weekly income towards a mortgage? Like it's not an asset at that point. It's a liability.
It just does not make it. It's like I can't understand is what I'm trying to tell you. Now with the increase in interest rates, and there's going to be probably another 2 this year, people are starting to default already. These people that did the 5%, they're defaulting already, and they did this. And in order to help people be able to purchase houses or property, what do you think that's going to do to housing prices when you make houses affordable, essentially? Like easy to get, not necessarily affordable, but easy to get. Prices are going to go up. So there's that sort of things. And any way you cut it, I've got friends back home who are buyer's agents, and I ask them straight up, just between me and you, like, what's going on? How are people thinking that it's a good idea to purchase in Sydney, in Melbourne? And their responses to me is, it's actually not, to be honest with you. That's why we have to advise for them to buy in like rural towns in the outback, because the capital cities do not make sense, to be honest with you.
It doesn't. And he was actually advised, that 22-year-old client was advised, he has to buy interstate. So there you go. And look, it's not anyone's fault, right? Obviously you can blame the government, right? But we are grown up and we are ultimately conditioned in Australia to live what they call as the Great Australian Dream, right? What is the Great Australian Dream? The Great Australian Dream is to work your entire life, purchase a property, pay it off for as long as you possibly can, retire, complete the final figure of what your one property is, and to try and live debt-free whilst you are then retired. That is the version of the Great Australian Dream that we are told from a very, very young age that this is life. This is how you should live your life. One property, pay it off for your entire time that you're active and fit and working, and try and retire being debt-free. At the age of 65, now you're debt-free and you can live. Live off what? How are you going to enjoy your life at the age of 65? You've worked and lived, you'd call what, 3/4 of your entire life at that point? Ultimately like a slave, and haven't enjoyed your life. It's unbelievable. I don't know. It's really, really tough to. Anyways, it is what it is.
I don't understand why people can't separate when it comes to investing as far as like property is concerned, because Aussies are more than happy to invest in US stocks,
Yeah.
in European bonds, in things in other countries. But when it comes to like property, all of a sudden there's this massive reservation and like alarm bells are ringing. Your money doesn't have a passport. Like you can invest it anywhere you like. And you should invest your money. If you're looking to buy a house to live in for yourself in
Different
Australia,
story.
great. Go
Different
buy
story.
whatever you like, put yourself under as much debt as you like, just be happy, no problem.
Of course.
But if you're talking investments, meaning a vehicle through which you make your money grow,
Yep.
you should be putting your money into wherever in the world that
Yeah, of
makes
course,
it
that
grow
makes
the
sense.
most.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So look outside of the country.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do Dubai, do somewhere else.
Yeah,
no
well,
problem.
most-
But
mate,
just
there are
get out of this mindset of
incredible
only
options.
Australia,
Well, that's another way that we're also conditioned. Like it's almost in our blood or built into us from a young age that you have to own a property in Australia, and when you buy a property, you never sell it,
Yeah.
right? And that was my mindset. I used to own a property back home in Oz, and once I moved to Dubai is when I realized I need to sell this property because it was an awful investment. I was earning 3.2% ROI, not even net. Right, I was netting just under 3%, 2.75, 2.78%.
Probably not even keeping up with
net
inflation.
ROI. No, not at all. It took me to move to Dubai to start selling properties and seeing what I was selling properties and to investors for, and how much these investors were making on their properties here. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Keeping on to this property. I live across the other side of the world. I have a property that I technically own, right? But the rent wasn't paying the mortgage. So I still had to fork out of my own pocket towards the mortgage every single month. And I was like, there's properties that I'm selling in this country to investors that service the entire mortgage within a 8 to 12 year period.
Yeah.
And my mortgage won't even service itself for the next 30 years. So that was a big realization point, and that was the instantly I reached out to a real estate agent back home and got my property sold, got the funds over here, and started to invest here. Haven't looked back ever since. But unfortunately, that's what it is. There's a lot of misconception that you shouldn't invest your money into property. In stocks, it's fine, right? Anything else is fine. When it comes to property, has to be Australia, has to be Australia, has to be Australia. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be Australia, but it's hard enough to get somebody to invest outside of Australia, but it becomes even harder for them to start to consider the Middle East, right? Because there's obviously, you don't want to call it racism, but you want to say that there's misconception that the Middle East is a very unpleasant place in Australia, and it's portrayed in that manner, unfortunately. It's not the case, though. It's not the case. And there's plenty of other of Aussies who would understand this and see light, and hopefully a few Aussies listen to this and can also kind of start to realize, you know what, well, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. There's plenty of case studies. There's plenty of evidence to back it. But moving on from the Great Australian Dream, let's move on to the 2040 Master Plan in Dubai. It's crazy because we've both been here for quite a similar period of time. I moved here in March 2023. The 2040 Master Plan came out not long after I moved here. And I won't forget, I'll never forget it. It was the population when I first moved here, I believe, was just under 2.8 million in Dubai. That's Dubai only, not the UAE. That's just Dubai. So 2.8 million population in Dubai. The 2030 Master Plan was to get the figures up to, I believe it was 4.8. And the 2040 Master Plan was to get the population to 6.2. Now, as of today, there is over 4 million residences that live in Dubai. So that number has increased by approximately 1.3 million in a 3-year time frame. The 2040 Master Plan has just been rejigged completely. Now, by 2030, they're expected overall to 5.8 million residences in Dubai alone, and 7.8 million anticipated by 2040. That is almost double the population we are here today. Now, what does that do for a city? What does that do to a real estate market? What does that do? That is ultimately the thing you were just talking about, a vehicle to drive, a vehicle to assist with your life and with your investment to earn you some money. Because there's a misconception here that there's too many properties being built and that there's too many apartments and there's no supply for the demand, right? Oh, sorry, there's no demand for the amount of supply being built. These figures speak otherwise. I always say, people lie, numbers don't. What are your thoughts about the 2040 master plan?
They've really laid it out nicely. And the thing with it is, as an investor, when you look at it, it's a promising sign, because when governments are actively spending and planning and actually doing something to get to that plan, to that goal, to that vision, that's when you know my money is likely going to be safe. So obviously they have like Silicon Oasis, a lot of like the technology stuff is going to be focused there, and they're doing a lot of investment into like AI, and this country is going to be probably the go-to country in the region as far as AI is concerned, and AI technology and AI evolution and advancement. And they're adding like so much more beach access, so much more green space access. The reason why that's important is because it's going to make the city a more livable city, and that's directly in vision with the vision of Sheikh Mohammed, who wants to make it one of the best, most livable cities in the world. So, and in order to do that, you need to have places where people can go out, can go walking, can go for like leisurely stuff, right?
Convenience is a big thing.
Convenience, yeah. They're doing the 20-minute cities where that's the concept, and every new area that has been built over the last like handful of years has had that in mind, where like within your community there are medical centers,
there's everything. It's every single sub community is ultimately designed as its own little mini city where you don't actually have to ever
you don't
leave.
need to get stuck in traffic going somewhere, you know.
No.
There's swimming pools there in the region,
artificial beaches, even if you don't live in an area where there's a beach. Cafes, schools, restaurants, malls, you name it, it's there. Sporting facilities, gyms,
all the
parks,
different amenities that they
dog
putting
parks.
in. It's crazy, like
it's all there.
So this vision is going to come together along with obviously the broader aspects, like for example the Gold Line that they just announced, which is off the back of even the Blue Line, which was also another big announcement for that. The Gold Line is going to be 42 kilometers entirely underground of Metro Line. And it's going to connect so many parts of the city. It's going to do crazy things for real estate prices and values around those stations. Obviously, there's just so much going on. They're constantly investing and they're moving. It's really inspiring to see, because the leadership here run it like a business, and all they're interested in is just growth and expansion. Every year on year, there needs to be like a business growth, you know. And they figure out a way to get around it. Whether it's with the conflict, they figure out a way to get around their problems. With COVID, they figure out a way to get around their problems. They're just on it constantly like that.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, we'll get onto the conflict side of things very, very soon. But to add to what you're saying, even traffic, right? Man, how many new roads have you seen being built in the last 3 years you've been here? Man, I honestly, every 6 months, I take a different route to get somewhere because there's a new road being built. Yeah. Man, they build bridges on top of bridges or bridges on top of roads here just to ease off traffic. Man, and even looking at tourism numbers, you were just talking about the growth, right? And how they continue to figure out ways to grow. I got some stats in front of me. 18.72 million international visitors visited Dubai in 2024. That was over 9% more than the previous year. So that was in 2023, right? So 9.15% to be precise. They achieved 13.95 million international visitors in the first 9 months of 2025. So the following year, they absolutely smashed it. That was within 9 months. And obviously, the first 9 months aren't the busiest periods. You know, people come to Dubai, want to start visiting Dubai just after September. So October, November, December is the busiest period. Their target by 2040 is to have a minimum of 25 million international investors each year, which 100% it will get to that. So with these tourism numbers, breeds opportunity. If there are that many people visiting Dubai, and you are two out of many who have experienced the feeling of visiting this place and falling in love with it to being able to make it or call this place home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that it was a stopover for me, right? And same same probably for you. Like I had no intention of moving here.
Yeah.
It was just a stopover, and then what I saw impressed me. Then I moved. And how many of those 25 million are going to have the same experience?
Well, that's the point, right? That's the point. Now, another fun stat: the Australian property market on average grows by approximately 1.5% per year, which isn't great of any means. If you held a property for 10 years, you'd see, call it, 15% growth. That is not bad. But in Dubai, there are areas look, the lowest growth over the last 4 years in a single area in Dubai has been approximately 8%. Over the past 5 years, 8% year-on-year growth. There are areas that have seen exponential growth of over 18 to 24% yearly growth. There's areas that have seen growth of that magnitude for 2 to 3 consecutive years in a row. If you're an investor and you look at these figures, man, look, how do you not look and think, I want to be a part of that? I want to put my money there. It would have been like ultimately investing into Badgerys Creek Airport in Sydney 25, 30 years ago. I know they've been flirting with the idea of investing or putting an airport there for many, 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 many years. However, it would have, imagine you bought in Badgerys Creek before they announced the airport. You bought, and 2 years later they announced that there's an airport coming. My uncle's purchased in Badgerys Creek. He bought acreage there. He bought it for less. He bought acreage there for, I believe, less than 2.5 mil. He could sell that block today for over 15 to 20 million Australian dollars. That is because of one singular announcement. How many announcements are coming into the UAE and into Dubai to improve and make this city or get closer to that 2040 master plan is incredible. It's insane. When you actually look at Dubai as a whole and you look at the age of Dubai, how young it is, and how once we get to this 2040 spot, we're going to be in competition with the largest major cities around the world. And I don't say that we already compete with them, but in terms of a price and a marketing aspect or a market aspect, you look at the price in Dubai in comparison to the prices in any other major city. You compare it to London, you compare it to New York, Sydney, Melbourne, Paris, right? We are still priced out. The closest of those major cities, we are still priced approximately 198% away from them. Once we get to this point here, I genuinely believe if we haven't overtaken them, we don't even need to overtake them. But if we are within 50% of those major cities in the world, that is 49% growth in a 15-year time frame in comparison to 10 years in Australia. You're going to see 15% growth. Yeah, 149 versus, let's call it 20. Let's give them 20%. Man, that's the numbers.
Mate, there's been 100. There's been some places 200% since COVID. Blue Waters has gone up about 250, I think. There's been places that are like Palm Jumeirah, like 200%, 150%.
There was an owner on Palm Jumeirah who bought off the plan there, and he sold his property about 3.5-4 years ago. I believe the return was over 2,093% or somewhere along those lines. It was stupid figures.
It's been mental, and like. I heard it like somebody else bought a plot on the Palm for 5 million dirham, so about $2 million Australian. This was around COVID time. Yep. It's now worth 25 million dirham, so it's 5 times. If just for anybody who wants to see it like in visual, if you ever come to Dubai, just catch an elevator to any really tall building and look around Dubai. You'll see a lot of it is still empty. There is still so much to build.
Land,
so much to build. And all of that is opportunity, meaning because there's still more infrastructure to come, there's still more buildings to come, there's still more expansion to come. And with every new infrastructure, every new building, every new expansion, it just a further addition to value, to prices and livability and people wanting to be here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So that is opportunity in front of you. The more emptiness you see, that's when you want to be in a place
100%.
Before it fills up.
100%, man. 100%. Well, let's bring us to the next part of the conversation. Is Dubai safe? Is it a good time to move here, or is it a good time to invest here? What are your thoughts, given the current circumstances, given the conflict happening currently in the Middle East? How does Dubai move forward? Is it still a safe investment for people to be in? What are your thoughts, Amir?
So when this all popped off, everybody was
Very quick to judge and jump.
Get on the Dubai derangement syndrome to just put the UAE down, put Dubai down, etc. It's no longer a safe haven.
No.
And my response is very simple, guys. Safe haven compared to where exactly? Because the reasons why any expat leaves and comes to the UAE, comes to Dubai, those reasons in the originating countries are still there. In fact, they are worse. Yeah. So it's still a better alternative. It still, in fact, is a safe haven, and it never advertised itself to be a safe haven. By the way,
it was just that. That's what
people gave. It just became that. Like people came here, and it was that. So what are your options? You're going to go back to the UK with the blooming recession that they have there. You're going to go back.
Let's continue on the UK. So you're going to move with the recession, right? And then on top of that, how unsafe it is in the UK,
the unsafety
right?
in the UK.
Man, you are more safe in Dubai with the activity happening in the air, missile activity, mind you, than you are to walk the streets in London.
Absolutely,
that is a genuine fact.
It's an actual literal statistic.
Yep.
Keep going. You're going to go back to Australia for the lifestyle and the taxes and all the rest of the stuff we already spoke about. No need to go through it all again.
No,
you know?
And Australia's not too far off from the UK now in terms of safety aspect. Look, Sydney isn't quite as bad as of yet as Melbourne, but Melbourne's really starting to climb up the charts and the ranks in terms of crime rate. It is really getting up there.
I was telling somebody earlier today, from where I stand, Melbourne's looking more and more like Gotham City. It's just crazy every day on Instagram. You just see something new. Somebody's head's gotten chopped off with a machete or something. Anyway.
It's crazy that they have a Gotham City there too.
But
we'll cut that. That's in Melbourne, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways,
there is one. So the safety aspect, like in terms of options, however you want to look at it, safety doesn't just come in terms of physical safety. You're also talking about financial safety for yourself, for your family. The UAE is right in the region where the conflict is happening. In fact, it's tied into it. It's gotten dragged into it unwillingly, but yet people in Australia, like 12,000 kilometers plus away, are feeling it economically worse than here. Petrol's gotten much worse because the leadership doesn't have the know-how to have more than 3 weeks reserve of petrol. So
absolute lunatic, that guy. Honestly, man, we have 8 oil rigs, oil facilities.
Yeah.
Oil refineries. Sorry, in the UAE.
In Australia,
we have over 8 oil refineries in Australia. 6 of them have been shut. 2 of them are operational. One's now been burnt down, coincidentally enough, when they've announced that there was all this difficulty with petrol prices, and petrol prices continue to rise and increase. And all of a sudden, an oil refinery that supplies over 50% of oil to Victoria miraculously got set on fire. But man, it's just the country's an absolute joke at the minute, man. The leadership is not there. There's no accountability. There's no help for the average or typical Australian. You can't progress. You can't really say that the country itself or the people running the country have you as an Australian citizen your best interests at heart with the decisions that are being made.
Yeah,
it's honestly, look, it's a misconception in my opinion. Obviously, the Western world and the Western media tried to really make this bad image of what was actually happening here.
This is their opportunity. They were
100,
so
and
many taxpayers.
It was their opportunity. It was their opportunity to try and scare people from moving here, because obviously Australia, UK, Europe, US, losing a lot of their wealthiest and best people to the UAE.
Yep.
And not just Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Ras Al Khaimah, and so forth. But that was their opportunity, their golden opportunity to create a narrative that Dubai's unsafe, it's being bombed, it's being missiled, everyone is scared, everybody's packed their bags and is leaving. which wasn't really the case, right? Yes, there were people panicking. There were people who left and fled. Look, good for them,
luck to them,
right?
yeah.
Good luck to them, all right? But I don't necessarily think that Dubai has to recover from this conflict, because I don't think it has anything to recover for. It didn't really break. Dubai didn't break as a whole. There's nothing for them to really have to come back from. But they will still make changes. They will still flourish. They still will do things that's going to show the world how well that they can respond from a little disruption. And look, there are going to be people listening to this and thinking, "Oh, it wasn't a small disruption." We are two Aussies, right, who lived through the entire period whilst we were ultimately going through 4 weeks worth of constant and daily missiles. They were all being intercepted. Did you ever for 1 second feel like you were going to die, or feel like you were going to, or felt unsafe?
Never. Just life went on as normal here. Nothing closed down. If it was in Australia, it would have been such a knee-jerk reaction. Everything would have been closed down, lockdowns for this, that, just a complete overreaction. But everything just continued as normal. A real big credit to the defense system. I mean, I was surprised, like how on it they were. They intercepted like close to 98% of everything.
All
that came.
activity.
And we had about 3,000 total, like drones and
Missiles, cruise missiles, ballistics.
coming this way. They went crazy. I was not expecting
massive props to them, man, and even working throughout the Ramadan period as well. Man, it's insane. Very, very big raps to the Defense Force here in the UAE. But yeah, look, Dubai's not recovering from this conflict. Dubai didn't break. I believe the narrative broke, but the fundamentals really didn't here in Dubai. Everything continued as normal. Yes, less and less people were out and about, but I don't think Dubai is unsafe. I don't think it's a bad place to invest. If anything, it's a perfect opportunity for any investor who was considering investing in Dubai to now invest, because you have the likes of I would say the vast majority of developers offering incentive packages to invest. You're getting DLD waivers from a selected and good handful amount of developers. You are getting discounted rates on the overall purchase price. You're getting more flexibility with your payment schedules, more attractive payment plans, options for post-handover payment plans.
You're in a good position to really get
to negotiate and to get yourself in the door.
Yeah, once all this is like cleaned up and over, which it looks like it's heading that way, all of this is going to disappear again. Yeah,
I 100% agree. Look, I said in the Monday morning meeting the other day, I was at Aura Sky Pool. The vast majority of people who were in that, who were at that pool or pool club, or whatever you want to call it, were all tourists. I had a conversation with a handful, 2 from the UK, 1 from the Netherlands, and the other one was from Germany, I believe. All of them had friends or family telling them, why are you going to Dubai? There's war there. It's scary. You shouldn't go there. And they've come here and experienced the complete opposite. And I think that's what's slowly going to start happening as the time progresses, because you're going to tourism numbers, as you've seen, are back. Obviously, not quite to as high as they have been prior to the war or prior to the conflict, but the tourism numbers are coming back. Traffic in Dubai is back.
It's definitely back.
So the life is back in Dubai. There's restaurants now being booked out days, weeks. You have to book weeks in advance to actually get reservations at places again, which is annoying, but it's reassuring.
Good, yeah.
It's reassuring. It's what you want, right? It's what you want. We'll move on. The expat reality check, right? As an expat or as a Australian, right? With the idea to move to Dubai, what is it that you wish that you knew before moving to Dubai? Or if you had the opportunity to speak to somebody before moving here, what is it you wish that you were told, or what is it you wish you knew?
A couple of things. I think one would have been to get prepared for the first summer you're going to have here.
Yep.
But after the first one, the rest is easy. That's probably the first one. The other is you need to come with a bit of cash at hand, because things here like such as your first rental property or your first car or whatever, require ideally a chunk of cash. You have to pay up front. There are certain things don't work on like how they do back home, where you pay like in installments, or like your rent, for example. You know, back home it's just like every fortnight or every month you pay. It's just direct debited sort of thing.
Correct.
Here you have to pay in like checks, either, you know, you typically anywhere between 2 to 4 checks.
Yeah.
So you got to come with a little bit of cash. That's something that I wish I knew. And then obviously a little bit more of an in-depth understanding, although I knew about it, but just a bit more of a in-depth understanding of the whole like private health insurance, schools, you know, for those people who have kids and need to bring their kids here, like coming and have a look at different curriculums, have a look at different schools, how much the fees are and things like this. Those are probably some of the top stuff that I would have wished I had known a little bit better. To prepare for.
Now, to touch on what Amir is saying with the checks, right? For anybody who is listening who doesn't know how the rentals work here in Dubai, the price is ultimately agreed. For argument's sake, let's use 100,000 dirhams for a yearly rental amount. Rent is agreed here on a yearly figure. So you work off 100,000 dirhams to make math's sake a lot easier. You have one of ultimately 3 ways to pay rent. You can either pay for the whole year up front in one check. You can pay in 2 separate installments in 2 checks. So it's 6 months installments. So one installment has to be paid completely up front. The next installment will be dated on a check that will be in the possession of the landlord of the additional 6 months worth of rent that will be dated in 6 months' time. Or you can go for 4 checks, which is 3-month installments. Yet again, you'll give the first 3 months upfront in rent. So in this case, 25,000 dirhams. And then you'll give the owner or landlord 3 post-dated checks for in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, 9 months' time down the track. So as a landlord, it's incredible to own an investment property here, because it's not like Australia where you can have a tenant fall in arrears of a month to 2 months and not pay their rent. And as a landlord in Australia, you don't have many rights, to be honest.
Landlords have more rights here for sure.
If you were to have a check bounce, the police will come knocking on your door here. So it's not something that many people do. Have their checks bounce or don't pay their rent. You can't actually get away without paying your rent here, which is incredible. So really, really good for the landlords in that case. What do you miss about Australia, Amir? I'm sure there'd be things that you'd miss.
Yeah, for sure. Like, look, man, like Sydney is, like I said, like Australia is a country I love. It's a beautiful country. Sydney, especially Sydney Harbour, you know, nice day out on the boat on Sydney Harbour, nice clear skies. The coffee, the food culture is great there, you know, like even you know, the oldness of some of the buildings, like around Circular Quay, the rocks, you know, just going for a walk.
Beautiful heritage sites.
I mean, Sydney is really nice, man. It's one of the nicest cities in the whole world, you know, for sure.
I agree. I genuinely, I think Sydney arguably is one of the beautifulest cities on the planet. I think it's very, very tough for many cities to compete with Sydney, given the Sydney Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, the coastal lifestyle, everything about it, man. The beaches, nice. Bondi Beach, etc. Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. There's a fair few things that I miss, man. I miss a good pub feed.
Yeah.
I get honestly a chicken palmy at the pub. Miss that. Miss a good meat pie from the Vietnamese bakery, or a Vietnamese banh mi. Salad roll, lovely. What else? Honestly, I miss the social part of being at a pub with the boys watching the footy.
Yeah.
Right? Although
that sporting culture,
right?
right?
That sporting culture, man. It's definitely there. Oh, look, us Aussies, man, we are backwards motherfuckers. We really are. We know how to enjoy our time at a pub. We know how to enjoy ourselves out. It's good fun, man. It's good fun. There is a lot to miss. Obviously, the beaches back home. I don't know what it is about the beaches here. Obviously, I probably do. It's the weather. The beaches here aren't quite as cold or as refreshing. Yeah. Man, you go into Cronulla Beach or to Bondi Beach on a 38, 40 degree heat day, the water's probably 6 degrees.
Yeah.
Right? Freezing cold.
It's nice and fresh.
In the winter here, the beaches are probably still 15, 20 degrees here. So it's not quite as refreshing. There is that to miss. Obviously, family and everything else in between. And now, one other thing I do miss massively back home is the cold.
Yeah.
The cold. I don't know what it is, man. I'm a big sucker for a rainy, overcasty day.
Oh, you like rain days, huh?
I really do. I don't know what it was, man. It was something about it. I just really enjoyed waking up on a morning and looking out the window and it being a grey, overcasty day. I know anyone from the UK listening to this probably thinking you are a sick bastard, right? But I don't know what it was. I enjoyed the crispiness. You walk out, it's nice, crispy and cold. It's not raining, but it's a wet day, wet weather. You smell the smell of the rain. I don't know. I love that weather. Getting out your car, windscreen's a little bit foggy. That was I missed that weather. You don't get that weather here.
No.
So I do miss that. Last thing, how long did it take you to settle into Dubai?
Honestly, man, I was like fish to water when I got here. I was like, this is the place. Like, it was so good. As soon as I got here, I was just like excited. Every day was a new day, a new adventure. I never found it difficult. Like, obviously, like there's difficulties along the way, right? Things that you got to get sorted, whatever. But like, even through the difficulty was the exciting part, the cool part. It's part of the journey, you know?
Yeah.
I never found like any part of it like, oh, what did I get myself into, or anything like that at all. I think maybe I'm just like one of the lucky ones where like I know what I want when I think I want it, and I'm just committed. Like I'll see it out. So for me, that's how it turned out. But did you find any particular difficulty?
Difficulty. Honestly, look, there's always a lot of novelty when you move here. There's so much excitement, and you're thinking, fuck, this is insane. It almost feels like a holiday until it doesn't. And it feels like a holiday for the first couple of months. But for me, the biggest difficulty was after my first month of being here. So I was here for a month. The second month I was here, obviously being part of a big family, I'm one of 8 kids, celebrations are celebrated massively at home. And it's very, very family orientated. I had my youngest brother, Bax, missed his birthday. That hit really, really hard. It was the first birthday I've ever missed. Then 4 days later, I missed Joey's birthday. Also hit really, really hard. And then 2 weeks later was my birthday. It was the first birthday I've ever had without having a cake. I know it sounds pretty pretentious and whatnot, but obviously, like I said, birthdays are very, very well and massively celebrated back home. So to not have my family around, to miss birthdays of my siblings who I've always been there for and always been there to experience and celebrate, it hit really, really hard. And then it didn't help that a week later was Mother's Day. So we've just gone past Mother's Day now in Australia a couple of days back. But that 5-week period was probably my biggest difficulty with making the move overall, honestly, because family is such a big part of my life. In terms of everything else, like in terms of settling in, I didn't find it hard to settle in whatsoever. In terms of finding my feet with work, it took fairly quick, 4 or 5 weeks. It took me to close my first deal. What about you? How do you find finding your feet in the industry? I know obviously you've come from a different background.
Yeah.
I came from real estate, so look, easy to kind of merge my skill set over and just to kind of tweak a few things around. But yourself coming from a business owner of an athletic background, you owned a few gyms back home. How do you find the transition into real estate?
Overall, I found it pretty smooth and straightforward. Partially and importantly because like when I started with you guys, and there was a lot of support and stuff like that. So I had people to bounce ideas off of and to like give me some guidance and things like that. And then secondly, because luckily, like back home, I was just into real estate. I was interested in investing, real estate, entrepreneurship, like all these kinds of things. So it kind of translated over a little bit. Obviously, having the business background in terms of also sales, talking to people, things like this. For those reasons, it wasn't a particularly rude shock. And anything that was missing, like I said, I was in a good environment with you guys, so you guys would help me fill in the gaps and learn as you go. And I just know with anything that you start new, It takes time.
takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time.
You're not going to ace it like immediately. You're going to have to give it 1, 2, 3 years, and you just keep at it. Just keep digging.
Speaking of acing it, Amir, you were actually awarded our most consistent broker of the year last year in your very first year in real estate, brother. So a round of applause for you, brother. Very, very well done. You absolutely smashed it in your first year.
It's been good.
Well, let's move on, man. So this will be probably one of the last things that we discuss on today's podcast, right? We're probably coming close to the time where we're going to need to start wrapping it up. But for an Australian to invest here in the UAE, how does it work? Can you do it? Not being a resident in Dubai, can you do it without actually physically being here in Dubai? As a resident, how does it work? As a non-resident, sorry, how does it work?
Obviously, they've made it very, very easy here to become an owner of a property. So as a non-resident, so somebody an Aussie back in Australia, especially for off-plan, super easy. You just need to put in firstly your EOI,
Expression of interest.
Expression of interest, which could be anywhere between 5,000 dirhams to 150,000 dirhams, depending on the project and the developer and so on. And then comes a day where we will go and get an allocation for you. Obviously, we'll try and get the best allocation, given that we know the sales rep at the developers,
project,
we'll know the projects and stuff like that. So we'll try to get something as best as possible, given the budget that we have. And then after that, the process is very simple. They basically need to send through their documentation, such as their passport and things like this. The sales contract basically gets drawn up. They need to sign it like physical signature, so that it'll get sent out to them. It'll usually also be 2 copies. They will sign 1 copy and keep for themselves, and they will sign another copy and send back. And then that's it. The process is essentially done as far as like the off-plan side.
They've made it so straightforward, so easy, and so simple, man. Like, and a lot of my clients don't believe how easy it is to. All you need 3 things: a valid mobile number, a valid email address, and an invalid and in-date passport. That is it. That is your only requirements to purchase an off-plan property in Dubai. Obviously, having your funds intact as well, having your funds there and your liquid cash to be able to make a down payment. But other than that, very, very simple, very, very easy. Now, I mean, for anyone who's listening who is thinking of investing in Dubai, what would be your go-to area for an off-plan purchase? Let's put you in 2 different scenarios. We'll put you in a scenario for a flip and a scenario for a hold. In your opinion, where would you invest your money?
Well, for a flip, what you're looking for is obviously somewhere that is almost as undeveloped as possible. So there's room for it to grow as it's being built.
Up and coming.
So that would be something like a Dubai Islands. I think that's one of the primary areas that somebody needs to keep in mind. To buy and hold personally, and this is a bias because I used to live there, but I genuinely think it's a fantastic area, and it's just like it's here to stay, and there's so much more to come, and could be even used as a flip. But certainly for a buy and hold, Dubai Creek Harbour.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page, man. I think in terms of location, Dubai-wise, you probably can't really get an awful lot better in terms of Dubai Islands for a buy and flip, given the fact that you are probably about an 8-minute drive to the current Dubai airport, very, very close proximity to that, not directly underneath the flight path either, which is fantastic. Being so close, you do always have concern that you'd be under the flight path. You aren't there. Dubai Creek Harbour for a buy and hold, incredible area, right? They obviously have the Dubai Creek Tower coming in. They have the new mall coming in that's going to be bigger than the current Dubai Mall, which is already currently the largest mall in the world. This new mall is going to be bigger than that. It's going to have almost anything and everything you can think of. They're doing a new skiing resort in there, apparently 2 times bigger than the one that's in the Mall of the Emirates. Now, I don't know if you've been to that ski resort in the Mall of the Emirates, but that ski resort is massive. Yeah. there's a cafe and a restaurant inside the actual skiing resort itself. There is what do you call them? The things that you sit on and it kind of takes you.
Yeah, it just takes you all the way up.
Takes you up to the top of the slopes. There's a kid's slope, there's a beginner's slope, an intermediate, and even a professional slope there inside a mall. It's
wild, man.
It's beyond belief, genuinely. It's so crazy. So look, yes, to answer the question, as a non-resident, you can most certainly invest here. You don't actually even have to be in the country to invest here as well, which is really, really good. A lot of the clients that I service haven't actually ever been to Dubai. It's something that they hear, something that the numbers stack up and they make sense. And for a lot of them, they've had some very, very successful purchases. And as time progresses, the rest will become very successful purchases as well. Another area that I would recommend for an up-and-coming location and for a purchase and hold, I've personally invested there myself, Dubai South. Dubai South, I'm a very, very big believer in it. I mentioned Badger Ridge Creek Airport a little bit earlier. This is, in my opinion, like investing in Badger Ridge Creek in Sydney. If you're from Sydney, if you're not from Sydney, imagine investing in an area where a new airport hasn't necessarily been announced or is in the process of being announced, and you can purchase within a very close proximity to that for a very, very small marginal price. Entry-level prices there are starting from approximately 200,000 Australian dollars for a studio. Some developers offering 30, 70 payment plans. You are all in for approximately $80,000 Australian, if that. 30% in with all your property fees, your 4% DLD if it's not waived. So at best case, you're probably looking around just under $70,000 all in. Best case, worst case, you're probably looking closer to the $100,000 mark.
Yeah, there's so much to be developed.
So much happening there. There's a massive corridor between Dubai South and the airport, all the way up through to the new Palm Jebel Ali. If you compare that exact same corridor where the current Palm Jumeirah is, you have Palm Jumeirah, you have JBR, you have Dubai Marina, you have JLT, Dubai Jumeirah Islands, Emirates Hills, all within that same corridor. They have to do something similar to that for that area to increase in value, for that area to be very, very attractive for people to want to continue to invest within that location. And because Dubai is such a small area, 20 to 25 minutes from one side of Dubai to the complete opposite side, without traffic, of course. With traffic, it could be anywhere. But without traffic, it's actually quite a very, very small city. So instead of continuing to build inside Dubai, they're actually expanding Dubai and they're going out further. So that's where the likes of Jebel Ali comes in, Dubai South comes in, and so forth. And that's now heading closer and closer to Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi, yes.
Right? So ultimately, you're at the closest part in Dubai, closest to Abu Dhabi. You're probably less than an hour drive from there to Abu Dhabi. I believe it's about 45 minutes drive to Abu Dhabi from Dubai South, and only about a 12-minute drive to Palm Jumeirah and to Dubai Marina. So incredible location, incredible for a long-term hold. 2030, the Al Maktoum Airport opens up and begins, and ultimately will be the largest airport in the world. I believe there was, how many terminals did they say there was going to be?
Something.
Oh, insane, man. Insane. Crazy. The amount of terminals there are, the amount of gates, everything about that place is, yet again, it's on Dubai spec. Very large, very, very appealing. And I believe going to increase the value of any area surrounding that by a massive, massive amount. So that's why I've personally invested there myself. So Dubai South, great shout. Some do's and don'ts for some investors from purchasing as an Australian in Dubai, some do's and don'ts.
I'll just keep it simple on this one. Do sit down with your accountant and figure out tax situation before you do that.
Or speak to a trusted Australian real estate broker who knows his things.
Who's dealt with, because obviously we've dealt with other Aussies who've been in the same situation. So if you need our experience and our advice with how things have panned out there, more than happy to help. Don't buy the first thing you see on a shiny image you've seen on your Instagram that pops up. Really look into
Correct.
the developer and who they actually are, what they've built. Is there any better options for you out there? The marketing can be very, very good in Dubai. You just need to make sure you
Incredible marketers. Incredible
buy the right
marketers.
one.
The number one mistake that I see Australians make investing in Dubai is not consulting a trusted real estate broker to assist them with the purchase. Exactly what you said. They look at a ad that's come up on Facebook, Instagram, Google, see this incredible project, but they don't know the scale of and the size of that project, right? There's been some very, very large scale projects announced in Dubai that a lot of people from this part of the world don't invest in because they know it's not going to be a great return. You have some developers guaranteeing certain returns, but won't put it on paper. And of course, in Australia, you can't guarantee a return. So if a return's being guaranteed, they probably think, you know what, well, fuck, this is probably a really good opportunity. Let's invest, let's buy. Not necessarily the case. Unfortunately, there have been many Australians being burnt that way by going directly to a developer. Now, my services and Amir's services are completely free. If you have seen a property that you like, that you'd like a 100% honest report, Amir will look at it himself. I will personally look at it myself, give you our honest feedback, opinion, suggestion, and what we would do if we were in your position. Please feel free to contact me or Amir if you are looking at purchasing a property in Dubai. You don't even have to use us, but use our knowledge, use our experience to make you and help you make a better decision. And look, I know I'm not the only Australian real estate broker in Dubai, but I am the only real estate broker in Dubai who will give you an honest report and feedback about what your money can get you in Dubai and whether or not you should buy the investment you are thinking. One last thing before we wrap it up, Amir, any last bits of advice that you would give to an Australian who's looking at investing in Australia or investing in Dubai, or as a whole, anyone who's looking to make the move? Any little bits of wisdom or advice that you can share?
Yeah, run the actual numbers.
Yeah.
Run the actual numbers like for like, and you'll see that your money will work harder for you here. Simple as that.
I like to use the analogy, you put a Ferrari or a Lamborghini alongside a Suzuki Swift. There is one clear winner on what car is a better car. That is pretty much it. That's, I think, where we need to leave it, and we'll wrap it up at that. Australia gave both Amir and myself a great start, and neither of us were here or are here to bash it. But the numbers don't care about your loyalty, unfortunately. A top tax rate of 47%, capital gains tax on every single investment you own, a property market built on negative gearing, and a cost of living that is eating into the best earning capabilities and years of your life. Unfortunately, that is not a country. That is a tax structure. Now, we understand that Dubai isn't everybody's cup of tea, and it isn't paradise to a lot of people. However, numbers don't lie. People do. So, if you run the numbers, and you are a numbers person, and you do care about your life, your quality of life, the way that you can live your life, and your earning capabilities, and everything else in between, to have the best of both worlds and to have the best opportunities for yourself and your family, the numbers make sense. Do the numbers yourself, and if they don't stack, don't make the move. However, every single day of the week, those numbers will stack. And this is by no means me telling each and every single one of you to make the move to Dubai. However, run the numbers yourself, and I'm sure that you will make the decision that is suited and best for yourself and your family. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to press the follow, like, and subscribe button, because next week we're going even deeper. By doing so, the next episode will be sent to you automatically. If you have any questions that you'd like answered, please feel free to contact either myself on my Instagram account, which I'll link right over here, or Amir's Instagram account, which I'll link right over there. DM me the word tax to be sent the Australian Tax Residences Guide, DM me trust for our developers list, or the word yield for the calculator that we use for all of our ROIs for my client. So if you're an Aussie sitting in traffic right now wondering, is there a better life to this or a better version? Well, you heard it here first. The answer is yes. Amir and I are both living proof of this, and we aren't gatekeeping it. We'll see you next week.